here we are, back at it again. I want to talk about something that I've kind of glanced around in various instances, talking about different movies and shows and stuff, but I want to get a little bit more deep into it with an example that I stumbled across. I work kind of alongside retail in that I interact with a lot of retail products, even though it's not a retail environment, and or consumer products. And as a result, when you see stuff like new things, you tend, or at least because of the field that it's specifically in, I might see something about maybe a month to 3 months in advance of when it comes onto the market, because that's the stuff comes into the building before it can be sold. And so you see some a movie's coming out, and so I'll see the toys, clothing, that sort of thing that's going to come through in as kind of marketing for merchandising for that film, that video game, that. So when Toy Story 4 came out, haven't seen it, no review. One of the things that came out was this little kind of package deal. It was a stuffed toy of one of the characters, along with a board book of that character, well, kind of starring that character. There's a Woody, a Buzz, a Bo Peep, and a what's her name, Jessie, and each one of them has in bold language the name of that book and of the kind of the moral story for it, because it's for really small children. And so the first one that I encountered is the Bo Peep one, in which the title of the book is Be Your Own Shepherd. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't realize the rest of them were going to come through until later that day. I saw the Woody and the Buzz ones, and they have very similar messages. And I wanted to use that as an example of something that exists in culture that is, in some ways, fairly sneaky. In John chapter 10, Jesus was teaching. He was talking about how he is the good shepherd and that he is the door. Those are the two I am statements from that chapter. Famous passages from there include my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. A hired man will not protect the sheep, but if he's confronted by a wolf, he will run from them instead. But the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. All that kind of stuff woven in there. Famous kind of passages, but it creates a stark contrast between this little 8-page board book, which is in every instance or every circumstance a parable for teaching small children a moral point, versus what Jesus was teaching, where you have be your own shepherd versus I am the good shepherd. Jesus' statement being that the good shepherd means that it's definitive. There's only one good shepherd. Everyone else can be a shepherd, but they're not the good one. And if you're not good by proxy or by kind of basic association, obviously, if you're not the good one, you're a bad one. So we have a direct, a contradiction of what Jesus is saying that, listen, I'm the good shepherd. Everyone else out there, they're fakes, hired men. They're not going to sacrifice for you. They're not going to lay down their life on your behalf. This is saying, be your own shepherd. So the reason I'm getting at that, I'm well, that's kind of nitpicky, isn't it? Well, no. And that's one of the dangerous things about all this. When you take your kids to see movies, when you put something on for them on Netflix, when you put a comic book any kind of written literature in their hands, the textbooks that they have at school, the friends that they have around them at school, their teachers, the policies and the compliance and everything. It's not just ideas out there, it's doctrine, it's theology. At its deepest root, it is all telling you a worldview of who God is, who you are, and how those things can be reconciled. And in most instances, like this very explicit example of Bo Peep's board book, is it's saying that you are your own God. You are your own shepherd. You don't need Jesus to save you because you have the capacity to do so yourself. It is the subject, kind of the message of most of capitalistic kind of Western society, is that if you buy this product, if you buy this book, if you come to this seminar, if you change your budget, if you change your career, if you go to college, you get this degree, you will be able to save yourself. Or as we head into 2020, if you vote for this candidate, vote for me, when I am elected, I will save you, or your vote will have saved you from the evil of fill in the blank oppositional idea, from the deplorables, from the libtards, from the whoever it is. That you have the ability to rescue, save, preserve, protect yourself from the evil, from the inconvenient, from the uncomfortable. You don't need a transcendent, ultimately good, morally objective Savior in order to live your best life now. And if you don't see it that way, if you don't see it as that it's trying to tell you a theological message, then what's going to happen is you're going to swallow a lot of things that you don't even realize that you're swallowing, and it's going to corrupt your ability to see God clearly, to see yourself clearly, and to see the world clearly. So, let me summarize a little bit. Am I saying don't go see Toy Story 4? I'm not saying that. I haven't seen it. I probably will see it on a Redbox or something eventually. Just because I love, like, Toy Story was my jam when I was a kid. I don't know, like, am I saying don't? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't take your kids trick-or-treating. I'm not saying don't not have Christmas presents for them in December. I'm not saying those things. What I am saying is that you as the adult, as the parent, as the youth leader, need to be very explicit about the way that you're framing how you talk about stuff, so that it makes it easy for the ones around you to see the message underneath it. They might not agree with you necessarily, but that's not the point. The point is to see what's underneath, to see the indoctrination underneath. And then also, there are certain things that you just, like, that are probably not good for kids to be around, even though they're framed for children. There are certain things that the message of it makes it toxic, and that you as the parent need to enforce your right of limitation on the limited perspective that your kids have. It's not evil to withhold from your kids things that will harm them. So, I guess that's it. Like, it is all theology. Just keep that in mind. It is all theology. Every article that's ever been written, every movie that's ever been published, or produced, every book that's ever been published, like, all of it. It's all theology more than anything else. And it's important to see it that way.